Hi, here is your chart. I don't think these look very clear, and I noticed that when I put the paper closer to the screen, it kind of muffles the sound a little bit. So I will just pull it up every once in a while just to show you where on the chart the things that I'm talking about are, so that whenever you're holding your chart in front of you, you know what area to look in. So um, I'm really excited about doing your chart and reading this for you. I've called in sacred space and just asked that the energy be um, helpful and useful, and that the information comes through in a way that is useful and joyful for you in this phase you're in your life. And also just giving gratitude and thanks for the lineage of shamanic astrology and for all the ways that we've been able to keep communication between the stars and planets and everything on the above, and making it useful for us now in this time. So we start off by looking at your lineage. And the lineage is sort of your resume you come into this life with, skills, or sort of like your basic setup, things that you've already mastered, things you're already good at. So so we go by the house position for the node, and I know that you learned about nodes a little bit in depth this week, so I'm really excited about nodes right now. South node is in the ninth house, which has the energy of a Sagittarian type. So we'll call this Sagittarius job in the Aquarius tribe. The moon and the south node tell the lineage. So your moon is in Aquarius. So the Aquarius tribe, this is the tribe of thinkers, the ones who thought up the things that have never been thought up before. And I really like Nikola Tesla as an example of this, because he was way ahead of his time, and at the time, people thought he was crazy, and they just couldn't understand what the heck he was talking about. And over time, eventually, we're like, "Oh, wow, that's incredible!" So, Aquarius tribe, that's the tribe. It's like the so let's talk about some of the other traits. They can be detached because they do have a cosmic overview. So if you can see the whole big picture, um, that person can sometimes seem a little bit detached or cool, cold-ish. So Aquarius tribe. Sagittarius job in this tribe would be to evolve humanity. So Sagittarius says, if I can evolve myself, then I am evolving the world. I'm evolving my community, however big that gets for you. Sagittarius is that arrow. So that's the quest, the never-ending quest for truth, for enlightenment. This quest can look in a lot of different ways, but basically it's like you always are wanting more, and having, I was going to say information, but Sagittarius isn't necessarily wanting more information, but having Sagittarius job in an Aquarius tribe, definitely. I would say this person is consistently searching for more information, technology, better ways to compute, to get things making sense. It doesn't even need to make sense, really. Well, for the Sagittarius job, maybe needs to make sense, but it's basically like Sagittarius job in the Aquarius tribe. This is the person who has a main focus on evolving within the tribe of the technology-based cosmic consciousness, Star Wars type people. Then we look at the new school. So, and I mentioned in the other video that you watched recently that we never leave the lineage. The lineage is what we have. This is like, if I went to college for a bachelor's degree, but I moved on and started studying the healing arts, I will always have that the business degree. I will always have that, you can call that like the lineage. That's not going anywhere. But I want to move into doing some of these new things I'm learning about. So shamanic astrology, or for you, physical therapy. Like you have, this as your bones, and then you're adding on to complete some of the other things in your circle or your wheel, if you want to talk about it this way. So we are progressively moving into our new school. So new school you don't have, but your north node is in the third house, which is the energy of Gemini and Cancer tribe. So whatever's rising tells what tribe that you're coming to learn about, or the new school that you signed up for. And so we call this Gemini job in the Cancer tribe. So the Cancer tribe cares about nurturing what's young and growing. Cancer is a householder position. So Cancer rising would say that you're learning how to do nurturing, caring for whatever is young and growing. It doesn't have to be kids. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be, if you see a plant that needs some help, you're gonna take care of the plant and nurture it and bring it to its fullness, um, and also your own projects, your own project babies. You're doing the whole thing so that they thrive. So from the time that they're seedlings through their phase of growing and tending, you're going to be tending to that project. And when the fruit comes, you're going to use the fruit, and you're going to, keep preparing, keep taking care of that until it's no longer there. So this is a problem for Cancer at times, is letting go. So I even notice that I'm talking about the fruit comes and you take the fruit, and then you're still trying to, get more out of the project. But sometimes it is time to just, get rid of it, till the soil, and plant something new. So this is a kind of a problem when you're signing up for the Cancer tribe as Cancer rising. The mistake that one might make is having a hard time letting go. So this is also the mother who, the child is out of the house and grown, and the mother is still like, where are you? What are you doing? And how come you don't call me? And, you better be home at this time. And what do like that kind of overly mothering or overbearing mother. So I have to say, Cancer is considered the good mother, good father energy. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be mothering a child, but it is a sort of motherly energy. So learning how to do that, that's what is rising on your horizon. The Gemini job would say to me that you are doing this in a way that is, so Gemini is in service to spirit through play, through fun. This is the trickster. Gemini is also known as the trickster. So this might be like inappropriate humor. Inappropriate humor, means like jokes that might be like, ew, what? Like, maybe funny to the other Gemini people. My good example of this is I had two people in my life with Gemini as their Mars or Gemini as their sun sign, and men. And they would, like the jokes that would come out would kind of be a little bit offensive. And, they had their group of friends that would laugh at that kind of joke. But to me, I was like, wow. So Gemini is the trickster. Gemini is in service to spirit through play and joy. So there's other things. I don't know why I'm mentioning the humor thing, but Gemini also is the fool in the tarot card. So you see him jumping off a cliff with no money. It's, with nothing. So it's kind of like the thing about Gemini, though, is that they can jump off a cliff without money and they'll survive somehow. They're the guys who are going to festivals with no money and working the festival or doing something to be there and be able to be there. And they actually end up with, coming back with money or something, you know what I mean? They have a good time, and they're not, it's not the same as if somebody else were going to go and take off to a festival with no money. And, you know, Gemini has it like that. It's like that kind of magical, it is the magician. So enough about that. So I hope that makes sense. The next thing we talk about is, well, this is the way I do it anyway, because I care a lot about the relationship material. The next thing I talk about is your feminine and masculine. So I'm writing here because I realized that I didn't write this down before. So we start with Venus for you because you're a woman. And you have, I did see these all bunched up in a corner. Really, really interesting things I want to talk about with you. Venus is up here in Taurus, right next to Mars. So they're actually in different signs. No, they're in the same sign. So that would be a conjunction. They're right next to each other up there. So for the feminine side of yourself, we look at Venus. So we're going to say Taurus, and then whatever's rising for you, which is Cancer. So we take these two archetypes, put them together, and create your feminine self. And I mentioned before in the other video that, you know, this is really important that you have these two, you know, you get a good archetype for her, put her together in some way. The way that I did this was just meditating on what those energies meant to me. And I did make them into a persona. So I have like my Mars is a shamanic healer. My Venus is this cosmic conscious earth body goddess. So it's she's really interesting. He's really interesting too. But I got them into a sort of like that. You know, I know them and I'm communicating with them and I'm having them do the sacred marriage. So they're able to look at each other in love and acceptance. And, you know, everything that you would want from a marriage. And I can't say that because who knows what you want from a marriage. The sacred marriage is maybe different than what we have come up with of, you know, what we would actually want for marriage. So anyway, masculine. So for Mars, you also have Taurus. And then we talk about whatever's descending on the chart. And you have Capricorn descending. So let's get a look at these two archetypes. So for your feminine, Taurus. Taurus is the earth goddess. So earth goddess means that she loves the earthly delights, pleasure, feeling good, smelling good, getting massages, bubble baths, good food. She is all this jewelry and adornments, you know, hair, like she likes to look good and feel good for her own sake. It isn't the beauty that you see where it's like for them, you know, the beauty that's like flaunting around to get attention. You know, that kind of beauty is like for the outside. Taurus is a lot like Venus, actually, and it's the beauty that wants to feel beautiful for itself. I remember something that you said, maybe I shouldn't repeat it here. I don't know if you're going to share this video, but about the way that you would cover your body, because I saw you in something, maybe a bathing suit, and I was like, whoa, you have a great body. And you were like, yeah, I just, you know, I save it for kind of special occasions. You're like not flaunting it, you know. So that's what Taurus does. That is you getting in touch with that Venus, your own Venus. So the other side of her, we look at Cancer. So this is what she's learning about. Venus is the way that you are coming to express the divine feminine, and Cancer is the way that you are learning how to do life. So you put that together, that's like that curvy, gorgeous mother, the goddess. Like when I lived in India, the Swami priest who was in charge of the Devi temple was worshiping the mother all day long. And this, to me, Taurus and Cancer together, that's the goddess. That's the mother goddess. Look at that for yourself, but get her together in your mind, like how those sort of relate or how that feels to you. Then for your masculine, Taurus and Capricorn. So this is extra juicy fun because you have two, like, it's like a sexy kind of energy because of the fact that it's very touchy. It's very, Taurus is very body based. So for the masculine, Mars and Taurus, and then Capricorn as what's descending for you. So you understand the man. I mean, you understand Taurus. So just think about this in terms of masculine energy now, with Capricorn. So what's descending for you is Capricorn. And when I talked about the descending on the other chart that I read, I did come up with some really interesting visualizations, and that reading actually helped me a lot in some of my own understanding of, the mirroring effect. So what are we mirroring? So over here, we're learning who am I, and on the other side of the chart, we're learning who are you. And ultimately, who you are is who I am. So when I'm looking at you across my chart, I'm actually seeing me. So this is like, my teacher called it Shiva Shakti. And that's for my relationship axis. I have Taurus and Scorpio. So, when that is realized, that's the Shiva Shakti, the sacred marriage. So Capricorn is the boss. Capricorn is the top. He's like the top dog, the CEO, the tribal elder. This is the chief. This is like the head honcho with Taurus. So get a good look at what that guy looks like for you. And that is your inner masculine. So what we do as women, as we end up projecting that out onto the men in our lives, so we'll keep picking men, and it varies, but we'll be attracted to this certain archetype, which for you it would look like loving men who are, earthy pleasure seekers, or they're open to receiving. They actually love receiving. Healthy is the Taurus is the Epicurean, so healthy receivership is what their main cause is. And he would also be the boss, the chief, the tribal elder, the one who is setting the precedent for the next 7 generations. So with that, we look at the relationship axis, which tells, what's rising and what's descending. Why on earth would I ever want to be in a relationship with the outer other? And you have Cancer and Capricorn, which is it's a householder. These guys really care about changing the way that we do family, and making it sustainable. It's new. It's not the old way we did family. This is the new way we do family. And it's very like community oriented, meaning that it's caring about the whole for the next 7 generations. And how are we going to feed them and bring them up? That's what this guys care about on the Cancer and Capricorn relationship axis. The next thing is midheaven. So the midheaven is up at the top of the chart. This tells how are you going to contribute to the world? So we all have a need to contribute in some way. You have Aries on the midheaven, which says that whatever way that you contribute, it's going to be with fierce protection. Aries can be looked at as the archetype of the midwives back in the tribes. Like the midwives were like, warriors holding down the fort. Like, you better not cross that line where the midwives were standing, where protecting the women giving birth, Aries is the warrior goddess. This is like, remind me of Xena, like, the Amazonian warrior princess. So whatever you do to contribute to the world is going to have a sense of fierce protection. And protection for who? It's really, they're not necessarily concerned about protecting any one person or any one family member or thing. They don't really care about that actually. They're going to protect the tribe. This is like, I usually call them the bouncers of the tribe, or like, I can't think of any, oh, the warrior, I guess. I don't know why I always call them the bouncer, but they kind of remind me of that because you know how the bouncer like stands at the door and like, they don't really care about anything or anybody. They're just going to keep the peace in the place and like throw your butt out if you mess up. So next we have the Home and Roots project, which is at the bottom of the chart. And so you have Libra down there. So when you go home at the end of the day, within your heart, the most important thing is that you feel heard, that you feel heard, and also that you're being treated fairly and just. This is an important thing inside your heart. This is not something that necessarily shows up to other people unless you're speaking to them very personally, because this is really a deep inner feeling that needs to be satisfied for you to be. One of my mentor that I'm working with now actually calls this inner child, because it's IC stands for something in Latin. I don't really know what it is, but something coli, or I don't know, but she calls it inner child because it's like that. It's like, if you know, where is your inner child? Where does your inner child live, and what does that inner child need? And you have Libra, and it's also you got Pluto right there too. Let me just show you that. It's very interesting. Pluto's also at an angle to your moon, which I'll talk about that in a minute. But just start to feel into that. Pluto is the planet of the underworld initiation. So Pluto is, in the shamanic terms, we would call this the underworld. And this is kind of like where we go to retrieve our power. A lot of people are afraid of the underworld because it's, you know, it's not the middle where it's sunny, and it's not heaven where it's like you can meet up with the Buddha and Kuan Yin. It's like below that. And we've been taught a lot of scary things about the underworld, but it's actually a rad, awesome place. Um, and I mean, not if you're not into uh, an adventure, because it's very, whew, you know, it's exhilarating, and it's different for everybody. But anyway, I'll talk more about Pluto in a little bit. So on the inner child, can't even think of the word for it now. Home and Roots Project, Libra. Um, so the most important thing I wanted to focus on for so that's covering the intentions, life intentions. We go through your lineage, what's your new school, your feminine and masculine aspects of yourself, what's the way to contribute to the world, which is midheaven, the Home and Roots Project, which is down below. So that's the four corners, relationship axis right here. We covered all of that. All of that is the intention. So when I talk about intention, that's what that is. Strategy is all this other stuff with the outer planets, the angles, some of this more information with the nodes. And I first want to talk about, oh, I forgot one thing. In your intentions, Jupiter is the planet that, planet of expansion, and it takes us to our next, our new school. So it's to help us move from our lineage to our new school the fastest path. And you have Jupiter in the first house, which is like Aries, which is similar to what you have on the midheaven. So to get on the fastest path to moving into your new school, feeding the archetype of Aries. So doing some of those things that are warrior princess like. Aries likes action, fast, quick. You thought it, you do it. That's what Aries likes. So those type of activities will be helpful for you in moving to your new school. Now, this is the juicy part. I love doing the intention parts. That's the first kind of 20-minute reading. And I went a little bit faster through yours because I felt like you already know. Mostly, I don't have to explain too much because you recently watched a video, so you know how the intentions are set up. So the first thing I want to talk about is Saturn for you. That's Saturn right next to your North Node. So here, let me just show you some more things. Saturn is at an angle to all this stuff right here. So if you've ever heard of a Saturn complex, it's kind of like in our society what we call the type A personality, where you feel like you have to get everything done, be on time, be best, be fast, do it good, do it right. Saturn complex is if you have one thing. So you have North Node conjunct Saturn. That would be considered a Saturn complex. A Saturn complex means that there's a huge inner drive, a huge inner motivation. And I'm going to talk about Saturn with you probably for the rest of this reading, because you have one, two, three for sure things that would just one of those things would give you a Saturn complex, and you have three of them. So we need to talk about Saturn a little bit in this reading. Saturn is kind of like the police officers. No, not even. It's the government. Saturn is the CIA. If I don't know, whatever you can get above the government, Saturn is that. So Saturn is somebody. Oh, I was reading in the book, and Daniel Giamario or Kaylin Castell. They wrote the book together, or I think he wrote the book and she. I'm not sure, but anyway, he was saying that life without Saturn would be like walking around on an acid trip all the time. So that's without Saturn. You can just imagine a little bit of Saturn. You know, it's like constantly having the rule book in your face all the time. Then you can look at your chart where you have Saturn at an angle to Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Chiron, and conjunct your North Node. So that's actually 5 things you have connected to Saturn. So let's look at it piece by piece. So I actually have the same configuration with Saturn right on top of my North Node, just like you do. So that's a conjunction. Anytime there's a conjunction, that's a strategy. It's a clue to us that this person is a teacher. They're meant to be teaching. Or that's what I feel most. I feel most that when you have Saturn conjunct the North Node, this is somebody who is meant to be the teacher, because the North Node tells what is your job in this lifetime. You signed up to learn about, and you have Saturn in the 3rd house, so that might be a clue as to what or how you would teach. But that's there. So the next thing would be Saturn at an angle up to Mercury, which would tell me that the way that you speak might sound like a teacher, might sound like the authority. I was going to say authoritarian, because that's what Saturn is. Saturn is like, it speaks in the voice of the forefathers, the God, the supreme being that we all should be bowing down to. And of course, it's not like that. You know, there is not a, and to you, there really, really might be. I'm gonna do the reading like I don't know you, and I'm gonna do it from the textbook, what in my understanding of this Saturn complex. So the trick of Saturn is to realize that no matter how fast you got it done, how good you did it, who was proud of you, who you pleased, it doesn't matter how many rules that you stuck to. It doesn't matter about how good you did it, how perfect you were, how wonderful you did it. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you did it for the fun of it, especially because you have, your Mars and Venus are both in Taurus. That's like, and you have a Gemini job in the Cancer tribe. Like, it's more fun and pleasurable. It's, that's the intention, was to be more fun and pleasurable, but there's this Saturn like driving you with a whip, and making sure that you, and it could be just an internal voice like, I'm not doing it right, or like I have to get it right, or I better be perfect, or I have to, finish this, I got to do that, I got to, like, this can be the inner critic, the inner judge, the inner, I can't even say critic really, because it's more like the driving force. And the idea with people who have a Saturn complex is to get us to understand that no matter how good it was, we don't get a reward. There's no reward for us. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that we do it because we want to do it. And we're still going to be highly motivated, and we're still going to be achievers. We're still going to be, we're going to be up here like we have Saturn conjunct the North Node. Like, this is going to be, we're going to be motivated. We're going to get it done. It's going to be on time. It's going to be pretty perfect most of the time. But we're going to do it from a place of knowing that we don't get any extra freaking award. There's nothing. It doesn't matter. We're not going to some different place because we did it better than everybody else. And really, it's not true that we're doing it better than anybody else, because it's our own internal Father that we're trying to please, our own internal God that we somehow believe is better than us, telling us that we're never going to be good enough. We're already perfect. We're already beyond good enough. And when we feel this urge, or we hear that voice, and you got to get to know the voice, you got to get to know what it sounds like when Saturn, it's not like Saturn, the planet, is coming down whipping you or something like that, but get to know that voice of the, not the slave driver, but the inner judge, or the way my teacher Kaylin Castell told it to me when she did my chart reading, was to get that inner judge to become your honor. And so that this sort of, you can see her or him up on the stand, judging you or whatever, and have it be coming from a place that like the judge is actually on your side, So she called it your inner your honor. So use that or not. It has helped me some. What's helped me the most is just to know that there is no benefits. There's no reward. Like, once I got that, I'm still driven. I still do all the things. I'm like, my whole 24 hours is very, I have all these projects and things that I'm going to get them done, and I'm doing them, and I care about them. And I know that if I'm late, whatever, nothing is going to really, and if I do it before the deadline, nothing really happens different. It's just the same, and just playing with that and learning how to make it work for me in my life. And so let's talk about this Saturn at an angle to Mars. So that can be like your inner masculine having a sort of teaching role for you. And it can also be Mars being your teacher. So learning from your inner masculine. So whatever touches Saturn is coming to teach us. Saturn is, they're all our teachers in different ways. Saturn is here to teach us through like rules, rules, and through this sort of, so the way our government structure is set up now, it kind of looks like Saturn is very ruled, rigid, strict. And Saturn is meant to be on our chart to keep us on task. Like I said in the beginning of talking about Saturn, life without Saturn would be like living on an acid trip all the time. I've never done acid, but I understand what an acid trip would be like. and you're just like, oh, look at all the colors and everything's all peace and love. And look at, you can see how we're all connected because you can see energy with, I don't know for sure, but from the paintings, it looks like you can see that we're all connected. And it's just like, oh, why am I even going to try? Because it's all love and light and all that kind of stuff. So if you didn't have Saturn, we'd be all, oh, like that. So Saturn's good, and you have a lot of it. So just keeping in mind not to let Saturn do whatever you want to let it do, but just to keep in mind that the ultimate goal of Saturn is to show you where and how to accomplish the rest of the strategies. That's the goal of Saturn, is to get you into the places that you need to be. And the trick about Saturn is to understand that there's no rewards. So to work with a Saturn complex, I think that those are the two major keys. And of course, you're still going to get whipped. You're still going to have those days where you're like, I'm not good enough. I suck. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm fat. I'm whatever. Saturn, to me, that's what Saturn sounds like. And it can sound like something completely different to you. It might be all of those things too, because you have it touching Venus, Mars, Chiron, and Mercury. So let me know how you experience that inner judge or inner critic or inner your honor. I would love to hear about that. Some other things I want to talk about. Uranus. Let's talk about Uranus. Uranus, however you want to say it. It has the same energy as Aquarius, which is your lineage. And it looks to me like you had no intentions of leaving your moon. You had no intentions of letting go of Aquarius because you have a lot of Uranus energy on your chart as well. So Uranus is in opposition. So opposition is just like we were talking about whatever's rising and whatever's descending. It's looking directly at that other side of the chart all day long. It's like very aware of what's directly in front of it. If we're sitting in a circle, you know that when you sit in a circle, that's one of the first people I notice is whoever's directly across from me. So on this natal wheel, that is an opposition. And you have the Sun, Mercury, and Chiron in direct opposition to Uranus, which has the energy of Aquarius to a bigger degree because it's not a sign, this is a whole planet. So that whole thing about cosmic consciousness, about this is the channeling. To me, this is where I understand channeling. It's like you have a direct connection to something that most people don't even know exists. And it can change because it's so vast and expansive and so bigger than life. So you have to the Sun, which would tell me that, so the Sun in this way of astrology is the fuel you burn all over your whole chart. So the fuel you burn means your style or your flair. So you have your Sun in Taurus, which would say that overall, this is why in Western astrology we're able to really have a clue about who is what, like what's your sign? It's because this is the overall style or flair of the person. So this might look like, all over your whole chart, there is this sort of overtone of the pleasure principle, fine foods, nice things, clean clothes that feel good, nice, clean hair, and, very body based and healthy receivership. So they like to receive. They can also be greedy, have a hard time letting go of things, lazy. That's all I can think about right now for Taurus. that, you know, some of the other traits of that. So I think pretty much everything I've talked about, I've mostly been focusing on the positive of it, but everything has words that also will give a shadow aspect of all those things. And I don't know why I've avoided those, probably because you have so much Aquarius on your chart, and Aquarius is um, the light polarized kind of energy. So you imagine if you're up in the upper realms, there is no dark. So that's a challenge for Aquarius, is to see the shadows and to be able to work in that other energy, because they're very light polarized. So I'm not saying you are, but as an archetype, Aquarius is very light polarized. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stop here, because I've been talking forever. And if you have any questions, I might do the same thing I'm going to do for your friend, which is make a second video. One more thing about your chart is that you are coming into your nodal return. It should be here within, I guess, on your birthday or around your birthday. Your north node is going to be lined up with the same place it was when you were born. This happens only 18.5, 18 and a half, so 18 to 19 years. We have a nodal return, and I talked about that a lot in his video, so I'm not going to go into that here. I still am really excited about it because we are both coming into our nodal returns. You know, I feel like I've been getting my tools together. I feel like I do have a vision of what I'm wanting to create, and I am setting myself up for that. So that's, you know, the 3 tools, keep those in mind, which is the timing. Timing is already happening. We're coming into it, making sure that you have all your tools together, and making sure that you have an idea, at least, of what you want and what you want to create, because this is the time when magic happens. The window's open, things line up, and we're going to get what we're cooking. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed your video, and I would love to hear anything you have to say or any questions you have. And thanks again.